Howdy, everyone. Welcome to the S&C podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Coach Carly, Stephen Carly. And then we got Matty Scar Performance, and another special guest today, Benji. Talk to me, Benji. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you, Stephen?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. We wanted to get you on the show today because you have a pretty awesome story, especially over the last probably year and a half, maybe even a year, with ACL reconstruction, playing football, a little bit of a business venture as well. So we'd love to know a little bit more about yourself. Tell us, where did it all start? Where did it all begin? From the footballing journey in particular. I know that you're a footballer, so you can start from there.
Right. So I've been playing football my whole life. Ever since I was 3 or 4, that's been my main passion in sport. But it wasn't until I was around 15, 16, I started taking it quite seriously. So around, say, February 2018, I started, in addition to team training, I would stay after, do some extra work, just lots of juggling, lots of touches, just the usual when you're a kid getting started. And unfortunately, 5 months after that, I tore my meniscus on my right side. Whether I have a high pain tolerance or wasn't sick in my body, I've had this issue a few times. So tore my meniscus and played for 4 months. Didn't even know something was torn. I just knew that I couldn't move correctly, lost range of motion. But during that time, I kept training as much as I could and really built up my left foot. Just going through timeline here. And then finally, in January of the following year, I get surgery. I'm back after 3 months, and then I get a second surgery in August because cyst never went away. At this point, it's my senior year of high school, 18 years old, and managed to play for about 2 years pain-free. I went off to England and played in an academy there in Newcastle. And, COVID was kind of up now with games, but I improved a lot there and made some connections, and next year moving to Spain to play. Last August in a preseason game, I tore my ACL on the other side, and that one was very much on me. I was playing through a major quad contusion. That game, I was starting outside back, and I literally couldn't sprint. I couldn't jump. I felt so off, but I played anyway. And 10 minutes in, I take a hit on the inside. Knee collapses, pop back up, play another 3 minutes with a huge limp, block a shot, knee collapses, get back up, play another 2 minutes, finally sub out, and then come back to practice 2 weeks later, knee collapses, and here we are. Got surgery in October. Finally found an ATG and started it 2 months after surgery, and it's been, I won't say smooth sailing, but really good progress on both sides of my body since then.
So did you tear it the first time and you're just an animal and kept playing through it? Or did you just little by little?
So my original surgery, meniscus, I think it was little by little because there wasn't some moment. On the ACL, I think I did tear it right away. Because even when I came back to training, I think I had enough muscle buildup that my physio there thought I was better than I was. I didn't even start the practice. I was messing around before. My entire team was telling me, please don't train, you don't look good. So someone goes to take a penalty, and I try to mess around and pull the ball away, and they shoot anyway. My knee collapses. So just a bunch of, after the first one, the following two were definitely, it's possible maybe I had a grade 2 tear, and this made it a grade 3. I'll never know. There's a lot of question marks, but, I am where I am. I wouldn't change the journey I've had.
Yeah, so I don't want to dwell on your injuries too much, but did you get a full tear or partial?
Yeah, full tear of ACL, sprain of MCL, and tear of meniscus. So the physio thought I just had a sprained MCL, and that was it. That's why I sent him back to practice so quickly.
Yeah, that sounds similar to my journey. And I can relate to that really, really, really well, especially with my first one. I went from 6 to 8 weeks out with a dislocated kneecap to then 12 weeks out to a dislocated kneecap. And then within 4 weeks, I'd gone and seen a doctor, and they said, no, you've got to come into surgery. And at that point, I had no idea what an ACL was. So it was very similar age to what you were too, and very young and naive. How did you deal with it? Because for you, it seems like football is a very big part of your life. How did you manage to deal with the big setback of oh shit, I'm not going to be playing football for a long period of time here?
So I'm sure you've both experienced this. When you're injured for 2 days, those are the longest 2 days, and you're constantly playing in your head. Do I come back Tuesday or Wednesday? What if I just play late? Maybe I just play 45 minutes. But when you actually get the shift of, originally the doctor in England told me, go back home so I can see a surgeon faster. He thought maybe I had a torn meniscus. So at that point in my head, I stopped counting the short days and was just thinking, let's get the surgery as soon as possible. I've done this before. And then when the following doctor told me ACL as well as meniscus, it was a similar thing where the longer the period, the less you really track the time, and you just learn to focus on other things. So I just, within seconds of hearing that, I can't say I had some ultra positive reaction, because who does? It's a major injury and it changes your life. But, I saw a brief glimpse of what would happen, where my entire next year would be rehabbing and having this. I was training 4 hours a week. I would do team training 5 days a week, play 2 games a week on my academy team, play a game a week on a team in the Lemp division, and play futsal 5 days a week. So this is just all I did. I had some business going on the side, but not a full focus. So I also recognized that this would be, I was 20 at the time, and I had one more year. I go to university as well. One more year of that before I'm truly independent. If I want to pursue soccer and I don't have a contract yet, I need to support myself. So I also recognize, I can rehab to the absolute maximum, and that's not going to be my entire day and entire energy. I need to put some focus into something else. So I decided to look at the business I had at the time and decide whether that was worth continuing. The day I tore my ACL was the day I started my previous business, which was called Foot Canvas. Not like running. It was a soccer poster store. I had about 600 posters online, which is something I really enjoyed, because, the little kid in me loves soccer posters and designing them. But yeah, I just recognized this is going to be a long time. Let's shift our focus.
So that's something I didn't know about, that you had the footy posters before that. That is cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about. So I remember in the ATG Pulse chat one day, you asked a question. It was something about the Soul Leaders, and I shot you a message back or something. And then out of the blue, I got this message like, "Hey, you want to join the freak athlete team?" I was like, "What is this dude talking about?" I was like, "Who is this crazy dude messaging me?" But
Yep.
So you want to take everybody through the journey with Freak Athlete Essentials and how that's gone so far?
Yeah. So if we're going to that, just the alliance, that's the most uncomfortable I felt. Was I joined this group, and I really did want to join HD for Coaches to learn more about my own training, not to try and get business connections. But, Keegan had been talking to me about building the brand, and we're talking about this alliance idea, which, by the way, I still don't know what it is. All I know is it's an amazing group of people who are sometimes we talk footy, sometimes we input into products. We talk about Brian Ziegler's massive calves, just figuring out what it is. But all I knew is I just wanted to get some people on board. And just a new message, I was like, there's another footy player. I could have good input. Maybe it was 5 guys at the time, and now there's 40. So just such a cool. I don't view it at all as like Uncom or like ACG, but it's just another place to connect and grow with each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, so for the way I see Freak Athlete Essentials, which is your brand that you started, I guess your continuation after your footy poster business. It's, in my eyes, the high quality, low cost sort of fix for a lot of the uncommon equipment that ATG uses. And it's, in my eyes, it's been growing really fast and doing really well. So I would be curious how that idea came about in your mind and how it sort of progressed to where it is today.
Right. So I think when you're a kid and you see some movie about a business, or you hear about how Apple started, you think that Steve Jobs just one day in his garage has the idea about this massive company. But ideas are almost never like that. It's always very gradual. So originally, I was just buying equipment for myself, and I bought a tib bar from a company called Tib Factory. I'm sure you guys know it. They make handmade tip bars for $50. And I had some experience with manufacturing in the past from other businesses, and I recognized immediately that there's such a big hole here where you can get a PVC one for $50 that does the job, but just not the best quality, maybe not as safe. And then on the other spectrum, you can get a metal one for $150. There's nothing in between, and just very little competition even. So I just started looking, and I used the research I've had in the past to find an iron manufacturer and work for them to get a few tip bars made. And previous businesses, I've been cautious with putting personal money in. But this one, I was working DoorDash at the time, and I invested all but a few $100 I had left. So the joke of my family was my net worth. I had more tip bars than dollars at one point. Yeah, so, but I immediately knew that this was something that could, I love that it's helping people, but it really just started as there's an opening here. I don't even need to build a brand. I could put these on eBay and, support myself to some extent. And then gradually I grew from, okay, what if I have some kind of brand? And I came up with Courtside Fit. Like my logic at the time was ATG is kind of basketball related. I wanted to be a general brand so I could expand. Until I started talking to Keegan a few months later, and he suggested rebranding when he came up with Freak Athlete. So tip bars, I got 300 made. I was in England at the time, but a friend of mine did all the fulfillment just from my garage. So he was in there 15 hours a day for 3 weeks. And, we've been setting goals of maybe we can sell, X amount and sell out in this time. But we ended up, I didn't have Andreas to make my amazing video edits now. I wasn't doing any advertising, but I was posting on Reddit. I was just sharing my story from ACL perspective, from business perspective, and people really connected, and that was a huge boost. I think we could have gotten to where we are slower, but the Reddit Knees Over Toes community is what actually gave us the first traction. After that, it's just been, like I said, gradual growth in both the vision and what we do. So it went from, we've sold these tip bars, let's make more. Maybe we can make a slant board. Same thing where you can hand make one for $50. You can buy one for $150. There's got to be some other options. And I just started applying that to every aspect of right now ATG equipment. And now we're looking at, even outside of that, just because ATG has been such a huge part of my life and recovery, and same with the other guys involved. That's our home base, but we definitely see it expanding past that.
Awesome. What else does FAE do, Benji? Like, you're talking about your tip bars, the potential for slant boards and all that sort of stuff. What else has FAE got that has to offer, I guess?
So originally I went into it thinking, let's meet the lowest price option with the quality of the best on the market. And I had nothing in my mind of we have to make innovation necessarily. We just have to bring the quality, make it more affordable. And that's what we did with the tip bar. Personally, I've tested other slant boards, and obviously I'm a bit biased, but I'm a fan of my own. A little bit. But at the end of the day, it's just a piece of wood. There's lots of ways to elevate your heel. It's also some groundbreaking innovation. But slowly it's expanded to what else needs innovation. And of our 7 products, the 2 main ones that we've actually created something new are the Nordic Mini and the multi-sled. So the Nordic Mini is exactly what the name is. It's best way to put it is full-size Nordic bench, the $700 ones, cut in half with a counterbalance bar on the back so it doesn't tip over. And we have the rope padding, I believe, is 60 millimeter thick, and ours is 75, so even thicker. We did a whole bunch of rounds of testing and kind of brought out from, Austin reached out to me 3 months ago with this idea, and it went from sketch on computer to engineering to very basic prototype to now something that I truly think is the best option. And multi-sled, I believe it was Andreas's idea to have the posts go out. So multi-sled is essentially the very thin standard pulling sleds, but it has slots for push posts that go out like a field goal shape, and those are fully detachable. And we also have plastic on the bottom, so it can be anywhere from a $900 basic pulling sled up into, I believe, $200 for a double push post dog sled. If I'm talking quite fast, it's because this is my life. Quite exciting for me. So apologies if I went too quick there, but yeah, so Nordic Beni, multi-sled, tib bar, slant board, reverse squat strap, stackable slant blocks, and step up platform that's modular as well. Those are the 7 right now.
So I got to say, so with the multi-sled, I was watching your video today, and I watched you just pull the center post out from the sled and just push the weights off. And I was outside today with my sled, and I was looking at it. It was like, dude, I got to pull all these 45 plates off straight up. Like, this is the worst thing ever. Especially, like, some of my plates don't have handles, so it's like, there's no way to get up. I was like, man, that is a really, really good idea. So every company has their unique competitive advantage, and you kind of touched on having the highest quality at the lowest price. Is that what you're going for? And do you have more emphasis on one than the other within that, or what do you see as FAE's competitive advantage?
So I think there's a few different ways that you can be in the equipment business, especially when it's ATG centric. You can be someone who knows how to get stuff made and distributed, and recognizes the financial opportunity. This is a business, but doesn't actually use the training or coach others, and then therefore they can get something made, but they're not going to take care of the little things. Something like the multi-sled, the post pulling out, I truly don't think that's going to help sell any in the short term. We can make an advertisement of this will save you 5 seconds.
Me, yeah.
But it's one of those little things. Just Matthew's going to buy it. I have one ad. But those little things that you do notice in day to day and do improve your training as a whole. So having the perspective as people who use the equipment and coach others. On the other end of the spectrum are people who also have that. There's some other business in the space who are run by HG coaches and athletes, and they make lots of great equipment as well. I think compared to them, our advantage is, honestly, I've taken a lot of financial risks to set this up, but we've got very strong logistics in place, so I know how to get something made at a much more reasonable price. And the biggest change I made early on was the pricing structure. So we don't have to be the cheapest in every area, but we should be. I almost ignore every other price in the market and just think what would be reasonable for an 18-year-old making a home gym. So our tib bar, when we made our iron tib bar, it was $150 for the other ones in the market. Ours was at $80, and I sold 7 in the first week, which I was super excited about. And then I just started thinking of, if I drop the price to $50, obviously that's a massive dent to the margins. That means we have to spend a lot less on advertising, if any, at the time. But that's something that is truly accessible to everyone and will spread by word of mouth, which is exactly what happened on Reddit. So we refunded the difference to our first customers, and up until 6 weeks ago, I hadn't spent a single penny on advertising. Every single sale was just word of mouth, Instagram. At this point, we can make an advertisement that says we make $50 tib bars, and that alone is the appeal because there's not options. But some of the other equipment we're working on isn't necessarily going to be the cheapest on the market. For example, we're making, I'm not going to go into that. Had some issues. Some of the equipment we're making already exists, and we're addressing ways to make it better quality. We don't always have to be the cheapest on the market. We need to be the most affordable for the quality we provide. So there's no magic formula there. Yeah, I mean, the original question is, what's our competitive advantage? Truly, it's just the I'm back. Any podcast listeners fell down there. The combination of perspectives, where we have the coaching and athlete perspective, we have the engineering perspective from Austin, for example, and we have the manufacturing perspective just for myself, which I've used in the past for other businesses.
Hopefully, FAE's next product is a tripod or something that you can.
The free club.
Hey, Benji, I remember the first time that we had a chat together, and you reached out to me, and you were full of excitement. Like, it was almost like the journey was, you're already on that journey to getting to where you wanted to go, and your passion was infectious. And we had the chat. We sat down. Well, we jumped on a phone call together, and we had a chat. And I remember you talking to me about the idea, and this was a couple of months ago, more than a couple of months ago. And I can really see the value of the product, because there's so much that you offer, the quality and the value and the price point, because a lot of it is cheaper, even though it's in American dollars, and me coming from Australia, than it is here for Australian dollars. And it's even cheaper because I have to pay for shipping to get it over. It's just like, how are you managing to do that? So I know that there's a little bit behind you going worldwide, but what's the next step for all that sort of stuff? How are you able to deliver products to people on the other side of the world, like myself?
Right. So I'll give full transparency here. 90% of our sales right now are to the US. That's because that's where I'm putting the focus on with social media, and that's where our coaches are located. So Stephen, if you go and buy a sled right now, believe it or not, we pretty much break even on those. That doesn't mean that in the future we're not going to make money, but the idea is ATG there's a lot of growth left, but it's a lot more established in the US than it is in other regions. And I want to help spread not just ATG, but having this affordable equipment worldwide. And what it looks like right now is, if we make inventory for a product, if we ship a small batch to Australia, that's going to be a lot more expensive for each unit. But we can help to set a base of people in Australia who are using our equipment, so that once we get to the scale in those countries, we can start to be more profitable, more effective there. So in the short term, full transparency, our funding, our sales from America, that's how we're able to fund everything else. But I'd rather set the roots right. I'd rather have a fulfillment partner in Australia and just get our equipment to people, get it in hand, get it on people's in gyms, on their Instagrams, just get it out there. That's the approach we're taking in terms of international.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to get some of that stuff down. I mean, I jumped in, like I said, a couple of months ago, and it's just like, when's it coming? When's it coming? When's it coming? When's it coming? Because I'm ready.
Right. Yeah. So I have the tip bar. So, and it's awesome. So one of the things that I love about having the equipment and how you're doing it in an accessible way is that when you actually have the real deal, it's very different from when you don't. So I had my makeshift tip bar that I had made out of PVC and pool noodles. And then when I got yours, it was like, oh, this is very different. And when I had my custom made, I built it myself with my dad out of wood and leather and stuff like that, my Nordic bench. And then I don't have the Free Athlete Nordic bench, but I have the Rogue one. Going from makeshifting things to having the real one is, I think, sort of almost like a cheat code for progressing really fast in the exercises that the three of us believe in, like the Nordics and the Tibs and the reverse squats. So this isn't as much of a question, but it's just, I really like how you're making that accessible to kind of help people grow just that much faster. And I guess I'll turn it into a question. I'd be curious of how you feel like you're progressing with your ACL reconstruction from before, when maybe you had like the prototype, or even before you had the prototype of the Nordic, to now being able to have all the equipment you're producing.
Right. So my view on equipment which I'm sure you guys share, is if you don't have equipment, so what? Start training, find a card to stick your feet under, figure it out. There's always ways to do it. But like you said, it's almost a cheat code where having equipment it's hard to quantify, but it might make training, that extra percent more effective and equally important, safer and more efficient. There were times I would do Nordic curls and I would stick my toes under a kettlebell rack, and I was still getting all the same benefits, but it was kind of altering the movement. It would put a lot of the force on my calves instead of my hamstrings. It wasn't as secure, and I'm 20 years old. I'm cool doing these rickety setups, but to tell a 65-year-old who's trying to avoid knee surgery, that's a different question. For myself, in terms of how has the equipment affected my training, honestly, it hasn't actually boosted my performance. I'm not going to say that switching from Nordic straps to Nordic bench has made me improve faster. What it has allowed me to do is be more efficient and more consistent with how I train. So rather than spending like a normal Nordic curl I would take me probably a good minute 30 to set up with everything I had to do to lock my feet in, DIY foot plate, and having actual Nordic bench just makes that easier. And for a 20-year-old, I don't mind having DIY equipment until I have the real thing. I can be patient, I can figure it out. But when I've started training a lot of my friends and other soccer players at my home gym, I don't like a single one of them. I would make them workout plans, and I would say, just get a Nordic strap off of Amazon. Not a single one would stick with it, just because it's such a hassle to put your knees on a ultra thin bench with minimal padding, ankles uncomfortable. Meanwhile, now that I actually have proper equipment, my friends are saying, can I just train here, or will this be at my gym? They actually are going to be more consistent with their training. So that's the way I see it. It's equipment doesn't make you better at training, but it almost makes it more accessible and more effective.
I think it make it more fun too. When you have like the equipment that you like when I had this garbage back extension for a while, and I still have it. But then I have the Valor one now, and I really, really like it. I went from hating doing back extensions on this stupid Amazon one to looking forward to the back extension. So I think that is a important part. And you touched on some of your friends saying, is this going to be in my gym? Is that a part of your plan for the future? Because I've never been to a gym with a Nordic bench or with reverse squat straps or with a tib bar just waiting.
Right. So the way I see it is through the end of the year, we're going to stick with our base of mainly home gym users who are training using ATG. And from the base, I want to expand to help not spread the equipment, but the exercises that it's used for and the training methodologies that it's used for. So the way to reach more people is both getting outside of ATG and getting into public gyms. We're working on some other equipment that will, think of our 7 pieces of equipment, the Sled probably appeals to the most broad audience because that's already been a staple in especially sports training for a long time. As we have more resources and, frankly, our customers are super passionate and about the exercises and super understanding of where we're at as a business. So when we say tib bars aren't going to ship until July 30th and it's May, they say, a certain segment are willing to wait, but I totally understand. If that was me, I might just be impatient and rather pay full price, get it now. Starting after this current round of production, unless we keep growing as insanely fast as we are, we should be out of that phase and able to actually go to public gyms and say, here's what you can do. Here's every single piece you need to fill the back room. And not only will it give something to your current users, but you can draw other users in. I think it was Stefan had the idea of all these gyms have this back room. Usually it's an empty space that kind of gets rotated out with random pieces of equipment, usually somehow athletic based, but just sticking a Nordic bench, a few tib bars, slant board, slant blocks, just the basics in there. It can go from selling one Nordic mini can reach maybe a few people. So now one Nordic mini in a gym could reach 50 people. And this is a business, but I want to see this reach as many people as possible and help as many people as possible.
That's I remember the conversation that we had, because I literally just came from the gym and I'm looking at this place going like, there is a big spot for a lot of this sort of stuff in all of these big gyms. Following on from the Nordic bench, and this might be the last question, but are you a record holder, Benji? Can you tell us more about the world record of Nordics and however long? Tell us that story.
Well, so my friend Matthias, he's Peruvian, I believe. Matthew Tame, I just remember seeing on his Instagram, he was in Peru. So my friend started following him, and Matthew did a video of him doing consecutive Nordics, maybe somehow unrelated, but he did 20 in a row. So my friend Matthias, he's the same one who helped me with fulfillment early on. He said, there's no way you can beat that record. And so I go on, and I'm struggling at 16, 17. I managed to get to 20, and my other friends in the back is like, let's do 5 more. I managed to eke out 5 more, and I'll say this, I started trying to beat Matthew's record, but I ended up truly going for most concentrics, because by the end I'm just slamming my chest down, sweat going everywhere. Yeah. In the end, I got to, it was unfortunate. I thought I did 100, but I miscounted. I did 96 in 20 minutes. So following week, reattempted the challenge, and Sam, Strong by Sam on Instagram, was commentating. Be a great WWE commentator as well, hyping me up, and went for the most Nordics in 20 minutes. The record, just based on internet, from this guy Patrick Stubbs in the UK. He did 105, and I managed to do 129 in 20 minutes. So I'll say that's unofficial most concentric Nordics in 20 minutes. If you want to give it a
What
title.
a record.
By the way, I put it in a lot of pain, a lot of Nordics.
That's awesome. You just fall down and you do a concentric up. That's
pretty much not the way to train, but
I remember seeing the pool of sweat afterwards, after both of them. It was just like, because it was on time lapse, or like it was sped up over time, all you could see was just like the water pool just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just like a water fountain from the top of your head. So who would have thought that you would get that much? Benji, that's pretty much time, the half an hour. Thank you so much for jumping on. Where can everyone find you? Where can they purchase FAE equipment from? You have any special bundles or anything like that you can send out to people?
Yeah, so I don't really post much on my personal, but I post a lot of training content on the company page. So Freak Athlete Equipment on Instagram, TikTok, Freak Athlete Essentials, website, freakathleteessentials.com. We're running 20% off bundles up until pre-order start shipping. So I believe that's July 30th. Yeah, and equipment or not, there's so much to benefit from this kind of training, and both of you guys are putting out content and helping people in real life. Experience firsthand, as have I. So, pleasure being here. Lots of fun talking to you guys.
Absolutely, man. You can find Matty at Score Performance. What is it? TikTok, Instagram, YouTube as well. That's
and
right.
YouTube.
Yes, yeah,
Yes,
and YouTube. Look at that. And Coach Carly with the 3 eyes on Instagram, TikTok, and the S&C podcast. Yeah, we're on Spotify now. That's a big exciting thing. I don't think I mentioned that last time. So we're racking up the views. What are we at? 10 views, 10 followers. What is it, Matty? You tell me.
It's somewhere between like 10 and 25 per podcast on Spotify, which is better than 0. So
exactly right. It's where you started. Hey, Benji, you got to start somewhere. So you started off nice and low with it, and then all of a sudden it just blows to the roof. All right, gentlemen, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.